Many years ago, a village in the North African desert is hit by a spacecraft, frightening everyone inside. A huge disk of unknown origin is brought to the dig site thousands of years later to show Professor Langford. The second relic, an iron ring with fossilized bones underneath, is examined by the researcher, together with Catherine, his young daughter. Our moment. Catherine Langford notices that none of Dr. Jackson's co-workers seem to be interested in the young scientist's unconventional beliefs as she arrives for his presentation. Jackson appears shortly after the lesson is over. While she is waiting in the car, Catherine makes an offer to him to work on deciphering ancient Egyptian hieroglyphs. The elderly woman informs the doctor that her offer is his only chance and that he has no other options. Staff workforce came by Colonel Jonathan Jack O'Neill home, when the man discovers that General West is requesting his retirement. It enables him to regain his composure and remain rational during his son's death. Dr. Catherine Langford is also waiting to greet Jackson when he arrives at the military installation. The scientist is shown the disc, which Dr. Langford recognizes from when he was younger. By merely looking at the hieroglyphics, Dr. Jackson is able to spot any mistakes in the translation. Other academics who have studied the text for decades are irritated when he makes text corrections. After the translation has been completed, Jackson is left wondering why the military was interested in the old item, the individual in charge of the secret project. Colonel O'Neill is ready to answer this question. 2 weeks later, Jackson continues to work on the translation. The arrangement arises all alone. The stone disc has a halo when he finally finds a newspaper with a picture of the night sky. Jackson informs a military committee of his discovery, and the colonel grants him permission to demonstrate the iron ring to the scientist as a stargate, the subsequent piece of the puzzle. While Jackson examines the device, he deciphers the seventh sign, and the scientists begin activating the ring. The odd scientist's instructions are followed when the symbols are placed. The base then begins to experience strange events. From the center of the rings, a water funnel emerges, causing the ground to shake. A machine is put inside the ring to gather subatomic examination of its items as it is being circled by outfitted troops. When the machine is brought inside, sensors look for movement on the other side of the universe. The drone signal suddenly disappears and the ring stops working in a faraway galaxy. The second section of the route, which the probe was able to send to the station based on Jackson's images, shows that the same ring exists further away. Jackson broadcasts his eagerness to go through the door and acquire new information in the wake of discovering that the military means to end the analysis. The initiative chooses to take the risk. However, Jack points out something to the general that they haven't told the scientists yet. The bones that have been fossilized but do not look like human remains. Catherine hands the man and the man she met as a young child nearby. Dr. Jackson and the military crew get ready for an odd journey as the ring is relaunched. Jackson descends a perplexing tunnel to a different world and the gathering finds themselves in absolute obscurity in a startling area. The gathering sees that they are in a specific sanctuary, the entry to which goes into the desert. When the scientist examines the structure in depth, it unexpectedly becomes clear to him that an enormous pyramid with a few moons transcending it is before them. Jackson admits that he is unable to accomplish it due to his lack of technological proficiency. However, in order for Jack to return to his residence while his men investigate the unknown civilization, he requested that the scientists construct gates. Until they can begin the ring, the tactical camps out and ready to live in an alternate culture. While his subordinates are setting up, Jack constructs a rocket and hides it from the military. Jackson, on the other hand, notices footsteps in the sand and follows their path until he comes across a strange, large animal stuck in the underbrush. The remaining chocolate bars that the scientist gave to the beast as aid. Jackson, who is entangled in the rope, is carried by the colonel as he abruptly moves and flees as soon as he notices this. Jackson regains consciousness with him as a result of the enormous animal's tongue. When they catch up to him, the military turns to look around and finds a city in the middle of the desert that is housed under a. As soon as the locals learn of the visitors, a disturbance begins. Jack sends Jackson ahead to use his skills and learn the language. When the tribesmen notice the talisman that is around his neck, they get down on their knees. After one of the natives leaves to call for the elder, the head appears alongside the squad, despite Jackson's inability to speak the indigenous language. They still provide him with presents. In return, the scientist gives the other person a candy bar. Furthermore, this is a critical initial phase in laying out correspondence. Oh, the group travels through the desert with thousands of curious individuals. The visitors are welcome in the metropolitan area once Neil informs the base that he is fine. At night, the guests are treated to a real meal that includes a variety of unusual dishes. The function begins, but is cut short by a horn that sounds and sends everyone in the area running. When Jack and his crew saw that the city gates were closing, they demanded to be let out and opened fire. However, a young local informs him that a storm is approaching, and the colonel agrees to hide. Jackson attempts to ask the senior where they are during supper. However, as it turns out, writing is against the law in the city. As a result, he gets distracted by luring him into the company of pretty women. Jackson declines to employ a girl who visits Jackson's scientist bedroom. Since the older person starts to feel uneasy, the man invites the new acquaintance into the room so they can talk. Thus, the young lady offers to show the person where she met them by drawing on the sand, the symbols that the researcher observed on. During the course of the night, the surviving campers take cover in the pyramid when an odd sound occurs. As they observe a spacecraft ascending above them, the group pulls out their weapons in preparation for battle. One by one, the troops are taken hostage. They have no time to comprehend anything. In addition, only one of the officers notices the extraterrestrial wearing an Egyptian dog mask towering over him. Jack gives a lighter to a neighbor who believes the fire is a miracle. The colonel collapses even after allowing him to taste the cigarettes, when the man grabs the gun. In addition, Jackson develops a friendship with a local girl, who introduces him to a subterranean symbol-filled maze. Correspondence between the two is simplified when they can become familiar with a language that the two of them comprehend. From the cave, the troops are transported to the tomb in some way. A woman emerging from the tomb is visible to one of them. However, the man already lies down. Jack finds out that the employees of the base have stopped broadcasting. When a subordinate salutes Jack, the men are tinkering with lighters. They all do the same thing. Due to the language barrier, the colonel tries to inquire of the men as to where Jackson might have gone. When the child finally realizes who the colonel is addressing, he lets go of the animal so that he can go find the man, who is having a great time in the dungeon. Jack informs the colonel of the wall writing when he locates the scientist, which asserts that a specific traveler from another galaxy arrived on our planet long ago in search of a means of survival. He found a boy whose body he had previously inhabited, built a gate through which he could free his people, and then enslaved all of the guests and people and sent them to work in the mines to keep people from learning the truth or thinking about fighting. They were prohibited from learning to write. At the point when Jackson looks at the walls, he finds a circle that looks like an entryway, however it is feeling the loss of the seventh sign, which is expected for the researcher to initiate the ring and leave the group moves toward the camp after leaving the city. Jackson's new girlfriend longs for him and thinks he's staying for good. The gang has no idea that a group of young people who aren't sure what the military's presence is for is following them. The team is stopped when Jack notices the spacecraft at the campsite. He brings the unit inside while advising everyone to exercise caution. However, as soon as they enter, Egyptian dogs begin to disperse the troops one at a time. The rocket that the colonel intended to use to destroy the gateway is nowhere to be seen in the event of danger. An Egyptian army arrives in the middle of the hall. The pyramid in front of them splits in two, as Jackson and the colonel are led into the throne room. After bringing the men to their knees, the tyrant who stole the missile is revealed to them. The colonel was intending to dispose of them. Additionally, the ruler was miffed about it. As he removes the mask, Jack, his guards, and finds that other beings have taken control of the bodies of his subordinates. Jack tries to fire, but the guards stop him right away. The intruder is thrown into the water ditch by the king, where the remaining soldiers had been waiting, following the removal of the necklace from his neck. The aliens began firing on the city after launching drones. Jack's little companion sees this and weeps for his fallen companions, refusing to spare any elderly or young children. When Jackson wakes up, he is trapped in the sarcophagus, and he barely escapes live, when they are the only ones together. After pursuing the monarch, who this time has assumed the form of a woman, the scientist informs Jackson that their nuclear missile will return to their world. The deity asserts that he created the earth and will undoubtedly destroy it as well. In order for Jackson to continue in the new world and save his life, he must kill the entire group. Shirley persuades his friends that they must finally engage in combat, as the city's king gathers the execution squad. As he approaches the group of people with his spear, Jackson notices warning signals from the hull and sets up a riot. The saved men scatter in a variety of directions. In a sandstorm, the troops must travel far from the camp to find a deserted cave where they can hide with their rescuers. Because he is unable to carry out his orders to blast the gate or bring the squad back to Earth, Jack is unsure of what to do. Additionally, as he considers what to do with the large group of children without a place to go, he is forced to defend himself in front of his coworkers. The colonel considers his next move as he turns away from everyone, despite the family's numerous concerns. Jackson assembles the pendant and encourages him to seriously consider leaving. It is turned by the governor. After punishing the guard for their escape, he gets ready to go after the convicts. Emotions of love begin to develop between the two young men as Jackson visits Sherry to determine the cause of the problem after observing the adolescents making fun of her. After spotting the child sketching on the wall, the scientist decides to help him and finds the 7 signs that will lead them home. Above all, they should dispose of the tyrant, and Jack chooses to do this without anyone else. When Dad sees the caravan, he tells them to get ready to bring a bomb to the Stargate and set off the garden alarms. During the subsequent shootout, Jack's crew eliminates the additional guards completely. The military must protect the use of drones from the hamlet at this very moment as they soar into the sky. In an effort to accomplish the goal and detonate the ring, Jack builds a rocket as he races to the gate. Jackson has 7 minutes to open the portals and bring the warriors back to their world. Shari is then shot by the Divine Guard, sending the damsel in distress to fall. While holding her in his arms, the scientist enters the portal to treat his companion. The scientist saves Sharia, but Jack must defend himself against the explosives. The teenagers are hiding outside, but one of them doesn't get there in time and dies on the battlefield. Within about 3 minutes, there will be an explosion. Jackson is caught by a divine being who needs to kill the researcher as he conveys his companion's body to another burial chamber. Jack fights on while he watches the passing of time. Jack defeats Jackson as he reaches the gate for the last time. The Colonel Hurley tries to stop the timer with less than a minute remaining, but nothing happens. The entire community comes to the aid of the kidnapped children. The 2 guards gave up their weapons as the citizens approached the castle and let go of their companions. As Deity prepares to flee, a ship takes off into the sky. Jack sees this and enters the reprobate's chamber with a boisterous bomb, which detonates immediately. Jackson is content with the girl he loves, he fixes the ring, and the teens recognize him as their leader. During the military's return journey, only the Doctor of Science remains in the new world. Turn on notifications, please subscribe for more videos like this, and like the channel to support it. Thank you very much for watching.